Hello, welcome to Spread the Floor. It's the brunch edition on a Sunday morning, waiting for the semifinals of the WNBA playoffs to start. And we have our normal Spread the Floor crew with a special guest, Brendan Glasheen, who does play-by-play for the Connecticut Sun, who also works with one of our podcast hosts of Dice It Up with Dano, Isis Young. Brendan, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm very happy to be part of the brunch crew. Does that mean I didn't get the memo? I mean, I didn't get a meal sent to me. This is great. I mean, I should have planned better, admittedly, but
we're a little low rent.
To
you have to provide your own brunch food. Actually, we're just hosting. We're just hosting the space.
Yeah, once we get a sponsor, some pancake place, preferably. I know Mark Schindler talks about how pancakes are bad, but we love the pancakes. So IHOP, we're looking for one. Let us know.
Yeah, Brendan, where do you fall on? So Mark, one of our buddies, Mark, is of the opinion that French toast is better than pancakes. Do you share this thought, or are you a sane individual?
I don't disagree with him necessarily. Pancakes to me are a waste of time. French toast.
Whoa.
I really don't care for either all that much, but if I had to pick one, French toast is kind of a low-key better option.
Wow.
That might be the hottest take we get on the whole show today.
Brendan, I cannot wait. Just come up to New York. We're going to go to Bubby's and Tribeca, and your world is going to be changed forever.
I guess maybe the argument I would make is there's a better chance of going to any restaurant and just the pancakes not being very good. And I've had a lot of bad, gross pancakes, I guess, in my past.
Pancake makers of America, y'all need to step up. We need to find the expert pancake makers and limit this practice to them because we're losing folks. I know Calvin was thinking about having one of Mark's other favorite meals, which is somehow oatmeal. Which he does like better than pancakes.
Shout out to Mark Schindler. I'm eating oatmeal for brunch today because if you follow Mark on Twitter, in this whole French toast pancakes debate, he also put oatmeal over pancakes, which I definitely disagree with for the record, but because I love Mark, I thought I'd give it a shot today, so this is my Sunday brunch.
It's not better than oatmeal. Pancakes.
It's not.
I'm sorry.
But I'm still eating it.
All right, that's enough about breakfast food. Let's get into talking about the series that are going to happen in just a few hours over on ESPN and ESPN2. Now, we're just doing the game ones today, but Dano and Doug Kazarian from ESPN's Daily Wager looked at the series and future bets on Friday. So if you want to go to that, just go to the videos tab on our channel. Make sure you subscribe and like us. That really helps the channel grow. And we want to keep growing so we can keep doing this stuff. But for now, let's stick to the game ones that are later today. Our first one is going to be the Seattle Storm at the Las Vegas Aces at 4 p.m. on ESPN. Seattle is a 5.5-point underdog in this game, and the over-under is set at 170.5. Now, Dano, give us your picks for this one.
I've gone back and forth with this one. I know the Gabby Williams injury definitely changes some things. She is a key player. It's not like somebody that we can necessarily write off to not have intrinsic value in this game. So with that being said, I think her defense would probably help as far as the over goes. I know people like Calvin, you got in early, right when it was, I think, at 169.5. I still love it here as far as the over goes. I'm going to play the first half over just based on how these playoffs have been going. We've seen a lot of teams slow down in that third quarter, which do I think it happens with these two teams? Not necessarily, but I'm definitely going to be playing the first half over. I think last time they met when they combined for 209 points, I think they both were it was either in the 90 or in the 100 range in the first half. So still feel good about it. I think teams are going to be excited. Hopefully we don't see any more of that patented Phoenix Mercury 2-3 zone. So glad that's gone. Exciting series. But if I was looking for something during the game, maybe we've seen these teams go on crazy runs, so I wouldn't mind taking a Storm live line, close to maybe 10 if Vegas gets a lead. But the Storm have not won in Vegas, I think, since 2019. It's good to know. So I do think Vegas takes care of this one. So if the Aces end up getting down, wouldn't be a bad time to bet that side either. But I'm looking live as far as the side goes.
Okay. I think so. Actually, I should mention the injuries. I forgot to mention, as you mentioned, Gabby Williams' injury, but also Dearica Hamby is still out for this game. So we're still waiting for her return into the playoffs. Maybe, I'm thinking I'm with you that is going to affect how the defenses play more than the offenses. But Gabby Williams has been really doing a great job on offense for Seattle in these playoffs. Calvin Pretzel, what do you got?
Yeah, Dano mentioned I got the over as soon as it dropped as at 168.5. I was ready to hammer this at anything below 170. I still think it's too low though. 170.5 right now. You look at the way like these two teams have been playing, even without Dearica Hamby on offense. Their last game in the regular season, they went over 200, which was like maybe kind of a meaningless game. But it still matters. In Seattle, like they averaged over 100 the last 3 games of the regular season. Then they basically took apart Washington, the best defense in the league all season, averaged over 90 in that series. This Seattle offense is clicking right now. And they both had over a week off, obviously fresh legs, ready to be rested and push the pace. So I will say I don't think 85 is going to be enough to win this game. I think you score 85, you're going to lose. At the same time, I do like Dano's angle. I have the full game over, but I like the angle of the first half because he's right. We have gotten burned on some of these in the playoffs. Still a little bit traumatized from that New York-Chicago game. Had the over like 164 or whatever it was. They scored 96 in the first half and still somehow didn't cash the over. So I could see it. I could see something like that, but I think both first half and full games should be pretty safe.
Yeah, Dano was very traumatized while we were at that New York game. He was not having a good time. But Brendan, tell me what you think about this game. Because obviously, like everything everyone's mentioned, it seems like it's going to be a little bit of a higher scoring, a little bit different from the regular season matchups. But what have you seen from these two teams throughout the season?
Yeah, just to bounce off some thoughts that you both had, Dano and Calvin. I think if you like the game to go over in the first half, then I think you're also probably the correct side is probably Vegas and laying the 5.5 points. There is concern about depth on both sides, as you both highlighted, Gabby Williams as well as Dearica Hamby. Williams is can be such an energizing player for them on the defensive end, especially when they get out and run a little bit. They don't run as well. I think when she doesn't play, but to me, this really comes down to what Jewel Lloyd we're going to get, and that goes to both points. It goes to the over. You might get a 109-100 game where she drops 38 points. But then you also have a sample against Vegas where Seattle still scores 81 and she scores 1 point and goes 0 for 6 from the floor. So what Jewel Lloyd we get in these semifinals, I think is fascinating. There was another game earlier in the year where Seattle won the game. She scored 24 points. It's been really up and down. And then she had 19 in another. So 3 of the 4 she's performed. They're 1-3, and even in the game she scored 38, they didn't win the game. But in the game she did not score all that well was the game they won. So, look, Seattle feels like a team of destiny with all of their narratives and their storylines. Vegas has to make threes, but A'ja Wilson's also a monster threat inside. There's only so much I think Stewie can do on her own, and I feel like if you're laying out these points about overs burning you in the second half, that's probably, and I'm just guessing, but that's probably you all thinking Seattle doesn't have enough juice to hang in the game. And then the game really slows down and you're getting enough from Vegas, but you're not getting enough from the other side to get your over. So to me, I think they actually blend hand in hand. If you like a full game under, that might be because Vegas just runs away with this thing.
Yeah, and I could see both those opportunities coming. Dan, do you want to say something?
No, I mean, I'm completely in agreement. It makes me think of a team total too. Like I think Aces team total is only at 87.5 right now, which we know they're more than capable of hitting that number.
That is a big number, though, man. It's like
it is.
You're asking a lot. That's how good they've been, though, right?
Exactly.
And they're looking at head-to-head matchups too. All of their games, And I know they're averaging 80. They're in the 80s this year, points per game. But in a playoff game, in a game one, where I just try to think, you'd think that if you're Seattle, you want to steal one, you get game one, right? Get game one, put the pressure on, just like we saw in this first round, right? If you're New York, get game one against Chicago. Dallas. Now Dallas got game two against Connecticut. Connecticut just decided not to. They weren't dialed in. But in a 5-game series, I mean, getting that first one, if you're Seattle, to catch them off guard. Look, guys, and here's another thing I've learned about this league that to me means a lot, and I think 3 of the 4 coaches in the Final Four, while it is her first year in the league as a coach, as a head coach, or it's been a while at least since she was a coach in any kind of capacity, coaching in this league matters. And it's no disrespect to Noelle Quinn. She's just got the odds stacked against her. When Kurt Miller's been in the league 7 years, James Wade, while it's only his 4th year in Chicago, the amount of veterans he has on that basketball team and on that staff, but he's well-traveled as a coach, has been around the game a long time. Noelle Quinn was just playing a couple years ago. Becky Hammond's been coaching a long time. So coaching adjustments, game plans, scouts. It's a small league. So yes, while it's a grind and you're playing 36 games in 2.5 months, you're only seeing 11 other teams. And when you're playing teams in your conference, so Seattle and Vegas, as we know, are very familiar with one another. Connecticut and Chicago, very familiar with one another. You really get to pick apart the tape, and sometimes you might overthink it, but I just feel like I think that matters in this matchup too. And again, I'm not trying to rag on Noelle Quinn.
No.
She's had a great year. They've clearly bought in. Like they've transitioned very well to Noelle as the full-time coach. But I think it's easier said than done. I think when you have a coach that can push the right buttons, the players can't do everything. I think coaching, unfortunately for Seattle, is a mismatch. It's just a mismatch in this series, and it has to be mentioned.
Well, I think you do have to add Sue Bird into the coaching mix for
that's
Seattle, because that's the one player that every coach in the league says is an actual player. Like even Mike Tebow does not throw that one around very often. He's like, yeah, Sue is one of the only coaches on the floor. So I think, you brought up a ton of great points, Brendan, and to on Jewel Lloyd, her over-unders at 18.5. I thought really hard about that one because I'm with you. And I think one of the things that may happen is there will be some one-on-one matchups as Vegas has to overload to help on Breanna Stewart. So there may be some one-on-one matchups for Lloyd on the other side, but the person who's actually been attacking those weak side, leave them alones is Gabby Williams. So without her, I do wonder if this offense can get going, which is good. It's back to the point of it being if it's an over, it probably favors Vegas. I do want my one pick here. And I thought really hard about all of the player points picks, but I'm going with Kelsey Plum under 20.5 points. It's at -102. I like the odds. And I also just think that Kelsey's not going to be the person that is left to her own devices. I think she's not going to be the person who's, let to run around. Obviously, you have to make hard choices on defense against Vegas. I would say Kelsey's probably going to be in more of an assist mode, and maybe Jackie Young also can get over her point number, which is 16.5. I just didn't have a great feeling there, but I think it's going to be more of a spread around the game for the Aces, and I think Plum's going to be more of a facilitator role, which makes me want to go under on that 20.5, even though that could blow up in my face real quick. You could have 3 pull-up threes in the first minute, and then that bet's over. But I think I like it now. We'll talk to me in a couple hours.
Well, I know. I feel like we know what kind of Kelsey Plum game we're getting, literally within the first 4 minutes of the game. And it's she's electric. Calvin, were you on the Kelsey Plum prop too?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I should say, so last time we had one of these shows, I think we had 2 props where someone on the show went against each other, but they were at a different line. We hit the exact middle on both of them. So I don't know if it's something about our show. It's good luck. Hopefully we can do that here, because I have Kelsey Plum over 19.5 before it moved up. I've said this on the show before. I think that the on-off numbers just bear out that the Aces rely more on their guards without Dearica Hamby on the floor and less on Asia Wilson. So I think we talked about taking – we don't have Chelsea great points over. I wish we did, because I think on the last show we talked about taking just – all 3 of the guards overs and hopefully hitting 2 of them. But Kelsey Plum was the one I liked the most at 19.5. Hopefully we can hit that middle.
Yeah, hit the middle, Kelsey. 20 points.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly 20 points. That's what we need from you, Kelsey.
3-0 in these scenarios, or 2-0 in these scenarios. Go for 3.
Kelsey has hit the over in all 5 games without De'Erica Hamby, by the way. She's hit 20. I don't know if she's hit 21. She's hit 20 at least in all 5 of those games. So we'll see.
Yeah. So I think 20 sounds like a good number. It sounds like a good round number, Kelsey. Just get 20 coming out of the game, and we'll see what happens. Brendan, do you have a dog in there? I'm also
it's a cat. It's a cat, and I'm alone, so I apologize. And
no worries. I'm alone with the dog right now, so I was just petting him.
No, it's the cat. You know how it goes when you're alone. They want to bother you. When someone else is here, they can help assist in the act. So I apologize.
No worries. If the cat wants to make an appearance,
does the cat have any picks?
The cat is meowing at the idea of taking Kelsey Plum under potentially. Gabe, it's dangerous, right? Because they've got so many weapons. They're such a good offense, and really, when you take away one of their pieces in Hamby, you're walking a dangerous path, I think. But again, look, in one breath, and I think you transitioned well out of what I was saying. Like, if you believe in Noelle Quinn and how she can be a factor in Sue Bird's leadership as well, getting everyone in the right places, then defensively, you were being such a brat. Defensively, if they have a plan to take Kelsey away and let Brianna handle Asia one-on-one, then it's a fair. I think it's a very fair line for Kelsey Plum. Is my point, and they find a way to score normally. So, okay, if you're taking an under on Kelsey Plum, then you might like the other side.
Well, I think it's just an over on everyone else. Like, I think Chelsea Gray will go off. I think Jackie Young will go off. I just think the player you're kind of gonna load towards are Asia and Kelsey. And I think one thing that's also going to happen is Kelsey's going to be more of a pick and roll operator because she's been so good in that so far in the postseason. So if they put her in the pick and roll with Asia Wilson, I think there's going to be a lot of Seattle having to scramble out to Kelsey and Kelsey finding an open player near the rim. I would venture to say that when Gabby Williams is out, and I don't know this for a fact, so if you guys know this stat, let me know. I would venture to say when Gabby Williams is out, the percentage of shots that are at the rim against Seattle goes up because she's the person stopping the penetration, and they're very aggressive with their bigs. So that's my thought is like, okay, they're going to sell out to stop the penetration, which means someone behind Kelsey Plum is going to be open.
Yeah, that's funny you brought that up because I was looking at that like half an hour before I jumped on here. It's actually the opposite, and I don't know why. Maybe someone smarter can tell me why. But they're actually on PBP playbyplaystats.com, the on-off when Gabby's off, the percentage of shots at the rim goes down.
Goes down?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
That's so weird.
My instinct would have been the same as you.
Yeah. No, maybe that Kelsey Plum is not that great of one. Let's move on to the other series before I continue talking myself out of my own.
You know what? I had one more thought.
Yeah.
One more thought on this series too is in this game more so is that Gabby Williams had been playing well too. Yeah. It's not like she was a factor in those two Washington games. So her emergence and just I say one breath, Jewel Lloyd, her impact matters and what game you get out of Jewel Lloyd, but Gabby Williams as a stopper. Depth is hard to find in this league. And Vegas, against all odds, Vegas was really good without Raquana Williams for most of the first half of the year. And they pieced it together. But as we know, and Dano, I think you can, if you recall, I think I remember texting you about this or DMing you about this, but remember New York playing in a track meet or giving this team a hard time back in midsummer. I think Vegas at some point, Vegas's depth was exposed. Now it's improved with Raquana Williams, but their depth is a concern. If you like, and really every team, the rotations are really tight at this time of year. But in one, I say that Vegas could have a game where they shoot 12 of 16 from 3 in a first half and absolutely blitz New York, but then someone else could blitz them because they're tired legs. So it's playoff time. I realize, adrenaline and all that stuff matters. So tiredness is a fair argument for everybody, but it's unfortunate to, depth to be a concern. I thought the same thing about Enrique being out in the first round. So depth matters. And that Vegas will be put to the test now in a 5-game series.
Yeah, we love that.
And we've seen them, and we saw them last year. It seemed like they ran out of gas a little bit because they were playing such big minutes too. So I think that's a really good point. We'll see how it goes. We should move on to the next series though, just to keep the wheels moving. Connecticut at Chicago, 8 p.m. ESPN2. The Connecticut Sun plus 4.5 point underdogs on the road. Disrespect CT. Who knows? Over under set at 165.5. Brendan, give us some keys to this game. Obviously, this is a team you've covered all season long. They're coming in as dogs against Chicago. What do you see from this series just on your initial glance?
What I think the elephant in the room is Chicago has dominated this basketball team going back to this year and dominated strong because 3 of the 4 games were really close games coming down to the final possession. Kurt Miller has mentioned that numerous times. I mean, you go back to the playoff series last year, game 1 goes to overtime. It's a final possession game. Game number 3 in Chicago of the semis a year ago, 1 possession game. This year, you're in a situation where you're playing Chicago. Courtney Williams has a chance at the end, misses a baby jumper in June, last possession of the game. Connecticut has a 6-point lead in overtime with 2 minutes to go and somehow loses the game by 3 without Candace Parker playing, but comes down to the final possession. Courtney Vandersloot hits Allie Quigley on a great play. And then the game they played in Chicago at the end of the regular season, Duana Bonner gets a really good look at the top of the arc and just couldn't hit. So in one breath, I think Connecticut, while they should think that, and they should say they're feeling good about it coming in, it's how do you get over that hump, that mental hump? I don't think this is about ability anymore. It's like mentally, this is a hard matchup for them because Chicago's really good. They're passing across the board. Their assist rate is so impressive. Anyone on the floor can not only put it on the deck, but they're passing. And I think I said this last week, just kind of looking ahead to the series, if indeed we got this matchup, it forces Connecticut to, when they're on offense also. So looking at the other way now, when Connecticut's being guarded, it's not so much. I know we hear this all the time. It's a cliche in sports. You don't beat yourselves. Well, this team, I think this year especially, if they lose games and close games, it's to this team. Any other game they're in, it's a win by multiple possessions. Looking at point spreads, just Connecticut usually handles their business as a favorite. Look at the Dallas series in game 3, or they lose a game. See Dallas game 2. It just it wasn't their night. But when it's a 1 possession game, it's against this team, maybe Washington, an exception or 2. But what coaches are doing, it looks like, is they're throwing different looks at the Sun, and it's about Alyssa Thomas finding comfort. If Alyssa Thomas is getting rebounds and pushing the ball into the front court and having her way, getting to the rim, points off turnovers, fast break points, not allowing the other team to set up their defense, Connecticut's really good. And they beat teams pretty handedly. But when good teams get back on defense, set up their half-court defense, I like to look at it like, and I think it's a good problem because it means you're really good and you want to be unselfish. Jonquel Jones, reigning MVP. They've got a lot of good pieces. And I think JJ sometimes isn't as aggressive as he should be, but it kind of turns into the Spider-Man meme where they're all just kind of like, who wants it now? So they're so excited about this core, and it might be the final run with this core. I think it's pretty well documented. It's out there. Like Brianna Jones is a pending free agent. That's not me. I don't know what they're going to do, but point is, it's going to look different. And I think they all know this is our last shot, and they almost want to be so unselfish, and there's no egos. And I truly believe that, but they all want to win so bad. They've just got to trust in each other to make the right play. But I also think for Jonquel Jones, she didn't show up in last year's semis, to me, did not have MVP caliber games. She played okay, I guess, in the Dallas game 1. She was clear. I mean, you guys watching the broadcast, game 3, flustered as all hell against that Dallas team. Totally messing with her rhythm in that game. Still ended with a double-double, but if you watch the game, the eyeball test, disrupted. Just not in rhythm, rattled, foul trouble. That can't happen I mean, it can happen in one game, but they can't afford that to happen in these first two. So poise, mental stuff is what I'm watching. Body language, I'm watching that kind of stuff with Connecticut and Chicago. And Chicago's proven it comes down to a final possession. They are super in sync and super confident. I need to see it. It's one of those things. I got to see it first. I got to see Connecticut win a close game at the end, road or home. It's been both places.
Yeah. No, and I was looking at the advanced box scores here to give a stat to it, and so they have played from my count 7 games decided by 4 points or less. They're 2-5 in those games, 3 losses coming against Chicago. So now, Brendan, here's my question though. I did want to ask you this: who do you trust on Connecticut in those big moments at the end of the game? Because I think for Chicago, you look around, Vandersloot, Parker, Quigley, Copper. Pretty much the entire team you can throw the ball to and they can make something happen towards the end of the game. For Connecticut, who's the person that you're going to just say, hey, get us the bucket?
Tawana Bonner, and that's an easy pick because former champion, played really well in the semi or the first round series. And DB sometimes doesn't have the most efficient nights as far as field goal percentage is concerned, but killer mentality, super into it when she makes a big shot. She's just a go get a bucket player.
Right.
And I think Jonquel Jones, as good as she is, and I think JJ would even JJ and I have a great relationship. I mean, JJ's great. Feels like JJ's still trying to figure that part out of her game. Like how to put the ball on the floor, take the final shot. I'm the go-to woman on this team. There's still kind of a thing there. Alyssa Thomas is great, but like I said, she gets easy baskets. Right. What about the hard baskets in the half court? Courtney Williams has to have a better series too.
I think that's
Courtney, this is why you brought Courtney Williams back. And Kurt Miller uses the word hunt your shot, hunt your baskets, and that's what becomes challenging. As I said, guys, it's a lot of mouths to feed on this team. So there are games where DB you just don't even see her.
Yeah.
Like the whole first, you're like, oh, I took Tawana. Say, I'll give you an example. Oh, hey, I took Tawana Bonner's point total at 9.5. Like, how does DB have no points? Because there's just certain games, and they're so scout heavy, like a lot of teams are in this league. When you play so many games in so little time, you're scouting, you're moving on from one game to another. So there are games DB just doesn't even. But that's just a feeling out the game kind of thing for them. But for sure, DB and Courtney Williams, I mean, this is why they brought you back here. You got to make a shot. And as I said, Courtney Williams 2 times has been the player with the ball in her hands at the end in 2 of those 3 losses to Chicago. So Courtney's had chances here. Yeah. I think she made a big shot. I'm just my memory serves. She made big shots in the fourth quarter and overtime in the final home game with Chicago. That was the game Candace didn't play. Candace had a non-COVID illness, did not travel with the team. So Courtney's certainly capable. And this is a player that averaged 17 a game last year, was an all-star in Atlanta. And totally always mentions, and this is why I came back. These are my people. These people put me in the best situation to succeed. I feel comfortable here. Courtney Williams did not shoot the ball well in that first round. So they've got to find a way to get Courtney going. But I always say that, like, find a way to get so-and-so going. Does it sacrifice or take away from someone else's rhythm? So I think what we're finding out is it's really hard when you want to put pieces back together to get it all to fit and mesh and mold in 1 year. And that's what's, even with Jasmine Thomas going down, I still think they've got enough talent to win the whole thing. I mean, I think that's
certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. No, certainly. All right. But let's, sorry, I was laughing because we got a comment from NBA Talk with Jay Money saying, come on, Calvin, let him know. Calvin, give us a pretzel. What's your pick for this one?
Well, I love the point that Brendan brought up about how close a lot of these games are. And there is this narrative that like Chicago's dominated the Sun and the Sky probably have some real estate in their heads. And all of this, they won 3 out of 4 in the playoffs, 4 out of 4 this year. But the point that Brendan brought up about how close these games are, 3 of the 4 games this year, the Sun actually would have covered this 4.5 point spread that we have today, right? The only one that they didn't was the one that was a blowout. Sun made a run, ended up only losing by 8. But so this feels like a lot of points to me. I actually decided to take a little bit of a shot on the money line, the Sun money line, which is I only put half a unit, mostly because I'm going against Dano, and I hate going against Dano because Dano's also a genius. But I just had to trust some of these numbers. Like the Sun obviously had the highest net rating in the league, which, is such a Kurt Miller thing. But even, if you look, okay, like they play their starters in blowouts in the fourth quarter, or they inflate their net rating. They had a higher net rating in the first half than the Sky did all year. They had a higher 3-point percentage than the Sky did all year. But when you look at those 4 matchups, the Sky had almost a 10 percentage point advantage in 3. So I think the Sky benefited from some shooting variance, because we know 3-pointers are by far the least predictable, most highly variable thing that happens on a basketball court. So I think the Sky, got in. Then some of those shots that Brendan talked about, that maybe if a bounce goes one way or the other way, we're having a totally different conversation. Maybe the Sun win 1 or 2 or all 3 of those close games. Same thing last year in the playoffs, like a double overtime game to start the series, right? Even if that one goes the other way, who knows what happens in game 5. So I think that, in the win-loss column, it looks like complete domination, but on paper, I'm not sure it actually has been quite as lopsided as it feels like. It almost feels to me like the lines, the books are sort of accounting for that narrative, that domination narrative, right? And so I like the Sun money line. Maybe I should have pivoted and take the spread because, like I said, Sun would have covered this in 3 or 4, and maybe down the stretch the Sky are the team, like we talked about, who has more players that they can go to and get that last second bucket. Because if we get a game that ends on a last second bucket, the Sun cover the spread. It doesn't matter whether they win or not. 4.5 points is enough that if we see a buzzer beater, Sun covered. So I like the Sun side of this. We'll let Dano pick me apart, because I know Dano took the Sky, and the line has moved towards Dano, so maybe he's right. But yeah,
where'd you get the money line? Money line was at 145, correct?
I took it at 145. It's moved against me. You can get it at 155 now. I still like the 145. We
have it on 152 on FanDuel, which is what I use because their app is the cleanest. This is not sponsored by FanDuel, just for the record. Dano, so Calvin gave away a spoiler there. What's your pick for this game?
Oh my God. I love the fact that I'm in Chicago, blessed enough to have a college fantasy football league do a draft here. And I'm excited to go to the game. But there's certain aspects of these matchups that just really incentivize live betting. And the first matchup, Chicago had a 9-point lead. They ended up winning by 4. First half of the second matchup, it was a day game here in Chicago. Chicago had a 23-point lead. They only ended up winning by 8. Next 2 matchups, I think they won by 3 and by 4. They had 17-point leads in both of those games. We know, I was talking with Ice about this the other day. Connecticut has trouble coming out of the gate strong. It's like they always have to be woken up. And I thought that would change a little bit in game 3 of the Dallas series. It was tied after the first quarter and after halftime. In an elimination game on the road with a core who's experienced going up against a young team, that to me is definitely cautious. So I'm taking the first quarter minus 115. I think Chicago comes out big. Love the fact that they were tested in game 1 of that series with New York. Losing that really righted the ship. They come out with a huge response, winning by 38. And then we saw what they did in the fourth quarter of that game against against New York. We were on the first quarter in that game, game 3 as well. They were up by 5. They're putting up crazy points in the first half. I am worried about the full game, but I got minus 2.5. Put a little more down on minus 3.5. Now that it's at 4, a little scared because, I don't know. Calvin said I'm a genius. I'm far from it. And I've been burned, especially when I get closing line value. So, it's a nightmare. I also saw Jim Turvey, one of the guys who's been on the Spread the Floor show on Connecticut as well. And the fact that they've won 6 straight, it's so hard to win 7 in a row against the same team, pretty much the exact same players, given Chicago's probably got a better team. But still, I really hope tonight is not the night that they mentally get over that hump. to Brendan's point, but I'm also on Chicago for the series at minus 130. So I will be betting live on Connecticut at some point in this game. I don't think they're like New York where they're getting blown out and it gets even worse. So it's definitely scary, but I'm riding with the Sky. First quarter, haven't decided on first half yet, and I'm already in on minus 2.5 and minus 3.5. But I would be remiss if I didn't say I was a little bit scared about it. But all the points that you all were making makes me want to think about the over as well. Just with this matchup, I believe it's gone over this number in I think 3 of the 4 games. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think one ended 83-79. Mm-hmm. So it's really with the over. I'm not worried about what I'm getting from Chicago. I'm just worried about Connecticut's point production because if they're not shooting well, could be a long night. Jonquil gets in foul trouble. Could be a long night. You're not going to get much in the half court from Alyssa Thomas, to Brendan's point. So, yeah.
If I could jump in, I think what Dano's getting at is too, if James Wade is watching film of that Dallas series and watching film of games they played head to head against this Chicago team or against this Connecticut team, one of their first goals, one of their priorities is to bother JJ and just take her out of the game. Do exactly what Dallas did. I mean, Dallas laid a nice foundation to disrupt how they play. And to Dano's point, I think the worst thing that could have happened to the Sun is Chicago getting a wake-up call in that first game to go down 1-0. But again, it's like even in game 3, New York makes noise, makes it a 5-point game. Sabrina's going off. They're just all so in control. They just all know where they're supposed to be, and they run their stuff. And you as a viewer, as a fan of the league, as just a consumer, even as a bettor in your cases, you're like, I still like Chicago, but I don't know who's going to score. You don't know. You don't say, just give it to Candace or give it to Quigley. You don't know. They can all give it to Kalia. Let her go to the rack. You don't know. Connecticut, you also don't know, but you don't feel as good about it. I think is what we're getting at. So, but it's a good point by Calvin too. If you think it's going to be a close game, then you're good. I mean, you're getting just shy of a 3-pointer. Meaning if they lose by 2, you get the 4.5 points. Or if you lose by 1, you're still in the mix there at 4.5.
Yeah, no, and I think I think it's gonna be tight, but I have to go with Dano's. I have it at 2.5. I have Chicago minus 2.5 as well. So I don't know if that makes you feel better or worse, Dano. But that's not the line right now. That's not the line right now. The one I think to collate, put everyone's takes together. But I have a Chicago over 84.5 points. I think they're going to go over that number every game. The last 3 games, they've scored 94 points, 95 points. That one was in overtime, 91 points. And then they also scored 83 points in that first matchup. So I think they're going to go over the number. I think their offense is cooking. Obviously, this also means that I'm with Brendan, with what Brendan just said. I think Chicago is just the team that I trust the most in the end, and I think I trust their offense the most. I do think Connecticut's going to make it close, though. I think they're going to figure out some stuff. I don't think this series, we're going to have a lot of hot takes after game 1, right? Everyone's going to say, oh, the series is over for Chicago. Oh, the series is over in Seattle's favor, whoever wins, right? It's going to be, fire the coach, get him out of there before game 2. I don't think that's I think we're just going to see something come down to the wire, and it's going to be Chicago knowing what to do. Maybe Connecticut figures it out, but I do think they're going to go over that point total. And to your point as well, JJ has not done well in the last 2 games against Chicago, although she may have been hurt for one of them, I believe. She came back from the COVID protocol from right. So she played in all 4. Yeah, she just was limited to 25 minutes. Yeah. So, and then, that was one of the first, still one of the games she was just coming back from. So, but there's a few single digit scoring games in there. The game that Dano was referencing, the camp day game, they played an afternoon game on a Wednesday. She finished, I think her numbers finished out okay, but
the first quarter point is a huge point, and I gave that out just looking at it from an analyst standpoint. I was like, I think playing Dallas first quarter is still a good call, and even in a deciding game 3, and there was plus money on that. Of course, Chicago's just a better team with way more expectation, but it's a real thing. There was a stretch in the middle of the season, right before the All-Star break, with everyone there except Jazz Thomas injury. Of course, I think I just get sick of saying it, but yes, no Jasmine Thomas throughout the season, but. Connecticut was the worst first quarter team in the WNBA for a week. They offensively and defensively, they were averaging just 17 points a game as an offense, shooting in the low 30s percentage wise. Opponents averaging 26 a game, 26 a quarter, shooting at 61% from the field. So starts. I mean, I know it sounds if Dano wants to live bet this game. We're finding out a lot about what this team's made of. I really do. I know it's a long series, a best of 5. Yada. I get it. The starts this team has had. If they come out slow, how do you not look at it as a neutral fan of the league and go, "Come on, Connecticut, you're going to do this again."
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is just so. That's And I'll say this too: if you like the Sun to win the series, I wouldn't bet them now. Bet them after game 1. If you think Chicago gets game 1, right? That's your opportunity to get in on Connecticut, right? Because all you need is a split. It's just like if you like Seattle, maybe you wait on Seattle too. That's something else I think about too. If you like the game 1 home favorite, come out strong, then you wait.
Yeah.
All right. I
was gonna say, are Calvin and I we're on an opposite, but opportunity in the middle with a prop, right?
We are, yeah. I took AT over 7.5 rebounds, went up to 8.5. I think you took under 8.5 and moved it back down to 7.5.
I know. So, I didn't see you take the over there. But yeah, let's pray for another Alyssa Thomas rebound game.
If Connecticut loses, may I add, if Connecticut loses game 1, please don't call me to come back on. I'm joking. I'm joking. I feel like
you tweet him. You tweet him. His Twitter name's right underneath him right now.
Oh, it's just so hard. It's hard. I mean, I'm so close. I'm close with a lot of people on the staff, and they all want it so bad. It's not for a lack of wanting it or chemistry. I do think, and there's some well documented relationships on the team. Like they're professionals. They just this is a hard matchup for them, and I really think a lot of this is mental. They've got to, and JJ's got to play big. I think JJ knows that. JJ's got to play better. JJ's just got to play better. I think that's the key to the series. I said Jewel Lloyd in the other series for Seattle, for Connecticut. I mean, for Chicago, it could be anybody. I mean, Kalia Copper proved she can emerge and be a finals MVP. And Quigley can make big shots, but Copper makes those tough layups, free throws. To me, it's JJ. JJ's got to make shots at the end of the game. Fourth quarter, big buckets. So I'm looking forward to. So.
Happy birthday to Kalia Copper, by the way.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ka.
It's her birthday.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
It is.
Over 16.5 points. Send it.
Yeah, I thought we said 30 piece when we were talking about it.
Yeah, Kalia Copper over 20 points at plus whatever. Put it down.
Well, I think, guys, I think we should just get out of here. Brunch is over. We're gonna wrap up. We're gonna head over, hang out for a little bit. I will look at numbers to make sure that I'm not betting on all losing sides here. But Brendan, really appreciate your insight and not being totally biased for the team that you're close to. I know that's hard, so we really appreciate all of the insight there. And obviously Calvin and Dano, thanks for hanging out as always.
Of course.
Anyone has final thoughts? Now or never?
No, got to get Brendan back in.
Yeah, we do.
At least for this series, for sure.
Especially if the Sun lose. If the Sun loses this series, Brendan, you're gonna be on. You're gonna be on the podcast. We're gonna move you over to Her Hoop Stats channel.
I'll say this: doing some work at Action Network, I when the Celtics were in the NBA Finals, that was hard too. But I was like, they might win it. So this is fun. Doing some work for their G League affiliate. So
the Red Claws.
I think it's a great Final Four. It's kind of what we all expected. If the first round told us anything, I hope we get. I really do. As a fan of the league, I hope we get 2 really good series. I hope that none of these are ending in 3 or 4. I hope we get at least 4 or 5 games in both that are just really. I think we're going to get really good games. I really do.
5 games all around. Teams, listen to us because we just want what's best for you and what's best for our pocket. So make sure you join us next time on Spread the Floor. We'll probably be back Wednesday, maybe before that. Who knows? It's going to be a long time between games. So we will talk to you very soon. So for everyone on the stream, I'm Gabe. and have a great day and watch these games.